Hi, and welcome to another exciting edition of Scarlet, Betch. I'm Jason.
And I'm Anthony.
So first off, we want to apologize for being gone for so long. We had some technical difficulties on our part. So we're just back. In our defense, that we tried to record several times, but there were a lot of mishaps that happened. My computer died. There were...
Things recorded horribly.
Yeah.
And then we did so many tests to get it right, and it didn't work out. So that's what happens when you only have one computer.
Yeah. But so now we're back with, I don't know what we're back with, but we're back. And so we thank you for tuning in and apologize for being away for so long. Hopefully you've been keeping up with the blog. Anthony's been doing a great job about keeping Super Queeros going. It's a really great resource. In case you don't know about it, you should check out our blog and look at it. I know that the staff at GLAAD is using it as a resource for their comic book research, which I think is awesome. And so kudos to that. But we have a list of things that we want to talk about. We're obviously not going to be covering everything that's happened within the past month and a half since we've casted, but we're going to be talking about some of the things. So without further ado, Anthony, do you want to start off?
Totally. Yes. Usually I'm all on board being super positive about stuff and like, this is why this happened, like, it makes sense, don't worry guys, life is life, it's not horrible. But actually Marvel is horrible. So let's talk about things that have been happening at Marvel. So first they fired like half of people. They were just like, whatever, we don't need these people. And then they started firing books. They were like, oh, that Alpha Flight continuing series that we just announced, no, that's gone. Oh, X-23, one of the most critically acclaimed books that we have, starring our superstar writer Marjorie Liu, who Anthony loves. Yeah, no, we're cutting that as well. Oh, and Dakin, the other book that Anthony looks forward to every month. Oh, we're also cutting that. Guys, I buy all your X-Men books, and I am not feeling very loyal right now. You're just cutting all the characters I care about. And unless you make some new title like X-Men, it's suddenly not about like a covert ops team. It's just about the characters that Anthony loves over and over again every month. Then we're gonna have some problems.
Yeah, we submit that there should be a X-Men sitcom starring like Anoli, North Star, Karma, and Emma Frost. Sure, why not?
And also, they have so many cool bisexual villains that they can use. I mean, the subtext will be that bisexuals are evil, but they'll also be hot and evil.
But speaking of X-Men sitcoms, what New Mutants? When I heard that they were moving into some random house together in like some brownstone in San Francisco, and I'm like, this is like 3.5 Men, or like Three's Company, or like 3 Mutants in a Pod. Because I'm like, what's going on? I don't understand why Danny Moonstar is like Suzanne Summers in like Step by Step. Like, what's going on?
Well, it's because they had a team that had all the dysfunctional male characters in the X-Men, right? They had Cypher, who can't evidently talk to people normal anymore, and they have Warlock, who has his weird speech patterns that's so hilarious and wacky. And then they have Nate Gray, who's like, I have no social skills, I just came back to life and have no powers, blah. And then they, like, put Danielle Moonstar in charge of, like, wrangling these guys. Yeah, and then they have, like, that newlywed couple of Amara and Roberto. So that's... The only reason I'm buying this book right now is for Blink. And I've looked at the solicitations, and after her storyline, she's not on the covers or anything, so I assume she's not going to be on the team, which means I'm not buying it.
Yeah, also, I mean, this is also 616 Blink. This is not Exiles Blink. Which is going to be interesting, because 616 Blink has never really been a character, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
she was resurrected during Necrosha, and she's kind of been MIA ever since, so we don't really know what her character is.
And I'm so excited for that, because they're getting to make her, like, super angsty and, like, I think, like, a completely different take on the character. It's like having Ultimate Blink, because old Blink was from AOA.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I also am hoping that one throwaway line that she had to get past these security guards, like, get at the people who've been causing all the disturbances that she's trying to stop. And she said, no. They were like, oh, are you, like, Bob's new girl or whatever? And she was like, no, I am Tina's new girl. And I was like, wait, Blink, are you a pink lesbian? Are you a pink lesbian? That would be amazing, please. Please.
So one thing that I don't like about this new Blink is, or rather the old Blink, or whatever, is, I mean, like, I get that, you know, the Exiles Blink or AOA Blink, her costume was kind of like, it was
the same.
so her costume in, you know, with like the weird ninja tunic medieval thing was, you know, it's a product of the 90s. You know, it is what it is.
I thought it was it looked very comfortable to me. It looked very flowy.
Not a whole lot of protection for the lady parts, but you know. Evidently evidently she can like psionically control her, you know, coochie flap as well, maybe. But this new costume, I understand they're trying to modernize it and like hip it up, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. What doesn't make sense is just like, not only does she have like a chest diamond window, but she also has like a belly button diamond window, and then also like a crotch diamond window. And I'm like, these are all like vital. Not only are they vital organs, they're just, it's like from a Tim Gunn School of Fashion perspective, from like a project rooftop perspective, it's just like, this is kind of ugly.
It's so ugly.
Not attractive whatsoever.
So ugly. And it's like, when I looked at it, I was like, okay, I can kind of understand why you would like say, oh, Blink, a teleporting character, and she's kind of broken, so there's this theme of like, she teleports brokenly, like her teleportation, she used to like throw shards and like would explode people by teleporting their bits different places. Like I could understand like a costume with a theme of cutouts, but not like this ordered pattern of like, we know that we like to look at boobs, so we will put a window on the boobs. We know that we like to look at abs, so we will put in window. No.
Yeah. And on top of that, like, who, like these artists are supposed to be going through, like, you know, art programs and understand color theory. And last time I checked, like, purple and green are complementary colors and don't really go well together very, you know, they're very clashy. And she kind of looks like Barney. I'm just saying. True.
She does. But also true, it's canon for her to, like, that's her canon color scheme.
Yeah, I know, but...
Yeah, I know.
I mean...
But though, when I was a kid, I was all about the purple and green. I was like, make disgusting... I think it's as disgusting monster colors. Like, if you just put those two together, it's like, now it's a disgusting mutant. Like, to me, that's like, all the Ninja Turtles and everything were all like, purple and green. Fuchsia and green. And that's, like, that, to me, means you're a mutant. So, I think it makes her look creepy and disgusting, but she's a monster, right?
Yeah, but speaking of creepy and disgusting things, I recently read I'm not sure what to call it. I guess it's a comic book. It's not a graphic novel. It was like only it's like a single issue comic book. It caused a lot of stir. I'm not sure exactly when it came out. I'm pretty sure it came out this recently, within the past few months. But it's called Our Love Is Real.
Right? What was that? Did you read it?
I did read it. It is very interesting. From a literary perspective, it's like it takes all these kind of like sexual identity politics, like you know, gay rights movement or lesbianism or bisexuality or transgender identities, and it kind of creates this like hyper dialogue around them, and kind of removes it goes into like the short future. So the short-term future, and creates other kind of sexual identities that we're able to comment on the idea of sexual politics or sexual identity politics, which is like valuable and interesting, but it's also really creepy and weird. Namely, being the two primary characters. One of them is a zoosexual, which means he is attracted and has sex with animals, not furry, not anthropomorphized, human-like. Furry, you know, humanoids.
Man on dog.
Actually, man and dog. And then the other main character is a mineral sexual, in being that this person is attracted to diamonds or crystals, and they have sex by attuning each other's auras to each other and whatnot. And like, and there's actually an interesting twist that happens, which I'm not going to ruin it, but the way that the sexual politics, like, you know, work in this world is interesting and at a very purely academic state. But just the man and dog sex, I'm like, I am not comfortable with this right now. And I'm like, okay.
I'm a homo bourgeois, and that book scared me. I looked at that and I said, I am terrified of what that book is going to bring up in terms of the political arena, and I did not buy it. I looked at it and I was scared. Do I have reason to be scared, Jason? Is it a scary book?
It is. I think it's actually worth a read. But it is. But you just like have to prepare yourself mentally. I mean, there isn't like super explicit stuff between like man and animals. There's like a lot of suggested stuff and like, you know.
I was gonna say, I've seen that on the internet.
Well cropped. I know, right, for you. Hello 4chan. I mean, it's all well cropped and kind of like tasteful-ish.
Tastefully cropped dog sex.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I've seen a lot creepier stuff on like, you know, anime, which is, you know, it is what it is.
Like once you've seen tentacles, you're kind of good.
Oh, I just saw this like an anime that was adapted from a Japanese manga called Kirei Papa, which is Kiss Papa. You can imagine what that's about, and I was just like,
is it about loving Latino people?
No, that would be Kirei Papi. It's about a little boy who's like prepubescent, who is in a romantic and sexual relationship with the man who he thinks is his father, which is like what? And then you find out like the main twist in like the series is that like, oh, he finds adoption papers and discovers that he's actually the man he's having sex with is not actually his father, and now he feels hurt by the fact that his father lied to him, but he's not his father. And he's like, oh, can I still have sex with this person even though he's not my father? What? And then then he is like even more conflicted because the person who we thought was his father, who is not his father, who he's still having sex with, is also planning to marry this woman, or it looks like he's going to marry this woman. And then this little boy is like, oh no, my daddy / lover / not my daddy is cheating on me with this other woman, who I don't know who she is. Turns out the woman is his mother, and he is threatened by the woman who is his mother, who potentially could be having sex with the person who we thought was his father, who he's having sex with. And now that man, it turns out, is actually his uncle. And he's not marrying his sister, but they were just really close, and therefore it seemed like they were going to get married. And then he reveals that he's his uncle, and everything's still okay. And I don't understand anything of what just happened. And I'm really confused and a little disturbed by what this portends for Japanese culture. So that's all I'm saying.
In both this and the Our Love Is Real scenario, I'm like, do they have some mechanism where like the rock or the dog or the little boy can actually legitimately give consent? Like, oh, I'm a trill, like from DS9, and so like the slug in my leg means that I can give consent because that is 140 years old and controls my mind.
I mean, I kind of understand, like there are Japanese like subgenres that are like that deal with like prepubescent children and like their romances, and it's like kind of like adorable and like, oh, it's kind of cute and like whatever. It's like they're like 6 and they're like play acting romance and it's like cute. This is not that. This is not that. And I'm like, and I mean, like it's one thing about if it's something that some random Joe Schmo made on his computer and is like posting on some forum, but this is like this was produced by a studio and was distributed widely and is beloved by many fans. And I'm like, what's going on?
Okay, so you know all this UPenn bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm. Actually, right. I don't know. I just found out about it. I heard about it, but then I just recently like researched to figure out what was going on. And like,
I heard about it in a taxi. I was taking a taxi to the airport, and suddenly I was listening to all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I had heard people mention stuff about like UPenn, but I had no idea what was going on, and evidently it had been going on for days, and I just hadn't known about it. But yeah, so all this like dude having sex with little boys a long time ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. I guess the story I wanted to transition into was one about how I was being cute, but it's kind of a really heavy topic. But I was sitting next to my boyfriend, and we were having separate conversations, and I just heard out of the corner of my ear, like, who would want to have sex with, like, I don't even understand how you can find little boys attractive, or whatever. Like, he was obviously, like, being, like, pedophiles are horrible. Mm-hmm. But a conceit in from my side of our relationship is that I am much younger and smaller and more youthful looking than my boyfriend. And so I made just like sad face, like, oh, and, like entering into the conversation. And like my friend who was in his conversation was like, oh, that's not a good thing to say. Okay, I think that they were actually, I think he was actually talking about the UPenn stuff and like and saying that was horrible and disgusting, and I turned it into our relationship. So that was a little embarrassing.
Projecting.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. When I was listening to it, I was like, oh, this is like taboo stuff that I mess around with. And it's not like I'm like, hey, little boys. It's like, I'm a little boy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I completely understand, like, the attraction to stories like this, because it's, like, taboo, it breaks, these social norms, and it's transgressive, and then therefore, because things are transgressive, things are sexy. Like, that's the reason why porn is sexy. Like, sex is supposed to be something that's private, you're not supposed to see, and, like, by exposing to the public realm, it becomes this transgressive thing that you're not supposed to do, but you are now ingesting or consuming. And so, like, you just kind of, like, consume increasingly more transgressive things to, like, So I get it. I get why it's, like, titillating and, like, exciting. But, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. But it's just so...
But it is. I mean, there's this one, because... there's this divide between, like, fiction and reality, right? And it's interesting, the reason I got scared of Our Love Is Real is because of Rick Santorum and his sex with ducks thing. And I was like, is this going to be a comic about sex with ducks? Is this going to be, like, is this a slippery slope comic? Is this going to be an allegory to the slippery slope that people are bitching about?
Well, to be fair, it's actually, that was my fear too, but then it actually is kind of, like, positive at the end, and about... I'm not giving anything away, but it is about acceptance and opening one's doors.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Well, maybe I will pick it up.
Yeah.
What did I want to say about that? About the slippery slope? About the separation between, like, reality and fantasy. And I guess I don't mean to say that, like, fantasy is okay, like, whatever. But, like, there's a big difference between, like, if you dress up someone in a schoolgirl or schoolboy uniform, and they are not a schoolboy or schoolgirl, and if someone is young. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why people made that one schoolboy porn that had Brett
Corrigan.
Both the Brett and Brent in it, and the reason why you can no longer see it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, so moving right along.
Yeah, let's talk about other things.
Yeah, that's not pedophilia.
Let's do that. Let's get back to talking about Marvel and how mad I am at them for canceling Dakin. I'm very mad at them for canceling Dakin.
But the one thing I'm actually glad about is I'm really excited about their move to all digital, all the time comic books. Or rather,
I thought
every comic book being same day digital, which I think is really a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I love digital. I think I've said that before on the podcast, but I love it, and I can't say it enough, and I'm going to say it like 3 more times over the course of this podcast.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is if you're going digital, right, which I assume has higher profit margins because you don't actually have to print the damn things.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you have Dakin? I mean, if you were going to cancel it and maybe, like, introduce it as, like, digital only because then we only have to pay the creators, go ahead. I say do that. Give me some Dakin. I don't need it in hard copy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like, I mean, if...
And, I mean, that kind of does change what it is. Like, it stops it. It becomes something that, like, people who don't have a computer can't access, I guess. But... I mean, what's stopping people from, like, printing it out and zining it for their friends or whatever?
Yeah. But to be fair, I know that there's also... I'm not entirely clear on what the pricing structure is, but yes. I do know that I mean, while there are costs, like, that you avoid by going digital, like the printing, like the print run primarily, you also get the cost of, like... I don't know what Comixology's cut of every digital sale is, but I imagine it's, something... And so it's something to consider.
I heard that, like, when you buy music, if you buy it hard copy, the artist gets more money.
Yeah, that would be true. Yeah.
That blew my mind. I was like, but the artist can just record it and sell it on the internet.
Yeah, but the thing is that like when it is if you buy things via iTunes, for example, the price is is lower than it would be if you bought it from if you bought it.
It depends. The pricing structure on iTunes, like sometimes they'll like cut the money that they're selling it for, and sometimes they'll jack it. Like if it's a single.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, go to the concerts because that's where they make all the money nowadays.
And I think concerts are more fun than albums. Like I love albums. Music from my iPod is part of my everyday life, but concerts are where it's at.
Oh, so I just want to move on to things. I had a point about this is kind of a weird transition, but money. Things that I really enjoy, but where I wish I didn't have to spend money on. And that would be, it's also kind of vaguely comic related. Ultimate Marvel vs. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
That one.
Yes. So this is like supposed to be like an expansion pack, but it's cheaper than the original. It's about like $10 or $20 cheaper than the original, release. And to be fair, if they had released all this stuff in DLC, which was like the intention, they were like, we have all this DLC, we can just release a new game and make a lot of more money. So to be fair, all the content you get, if it was all released and you bought it all in DLC, it would be more. But then at the same time, there are plenty of characters that are in there that I really don't care about, and I don't really need to like have, or like different modes that I don't need to have, because all I really do is play arcade and training, because I'm not really good enough for the scary world of online, and I'm not really into just like banging my head against the wall with impossible challenges. And I just kind of want to like have the thrill of playing Doctor Strange and have him fight against like Spider-Man, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I did the pre-order through GameStop, and the Femme Fatale costume pack that I got with the pre-order has Storm's like mohawk, like 80s costume, and it's super hot, and I really like it. So also it has X-23 Laura's much more conservative X-Men Evolution costume, where she's just like in like a little like mini biker chick, rather than like weird girl with like I get that she's like in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, or regular Marvel vs. Capcom, her base costume is like her in a bra and like hot pants. I'm like, really? But I mean, whatever.
What? That's so inappropriate.
Yeah,
talking about underage. She's a child.
Yeah.
She's a child. Like, she's legitimately a child in other countries that are not the US. Like, in countries where the age of consent is 16, she is still a child.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's still a child. That's inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But I guess it's fantasy, so like, right? She's not real. I don't know. Is that a? Ugh. Anyway, let's talk about really some other stuff from Marvel. You want to talk about like New Mutants? We talked about Blink, right?
About her. And the ridiculous sitcom nature of their New Mutants.
Do you want to talk about X Factor? Have you been reading X Factor?
I have not been reading X Factor. I think last thing I remember was the crazy lady in the house that was Jamie's who got murdered, and then they're trying to find the murderer, and then that's all I remember.
They've been going on with that storyline. I think it's not the most interesting thing about the book these days. Because, I mean, X Factor, I think, has always been a character. Like, Peter David's strength, I think, is his treatment of the characters, how he can, like, make humans interesting, and their inner relationships. And anyway, there was a big bombshell for me. So we know that kind of Richter and Shatterstar have always had this kind of ambiguous sexuality, and it's kind of just been confirmed that, like, they're hots on each other, and, like, they're boyfriends now, right? But a couple issues ago, Shatterstar and Layla were talking about, hey, remember when we were hanging out with Dr. Doom and we're totally banging? And I was like, what? Like, I mean, I know that Richter has, like, his on-again, off-again thing with Wolfsbane, and I know that I'm all about, like, bisexual characters and earthing, but it threw me for a loop. To be honest, I was like, but OTP! Richter and Shatterstar! What's going on? Why is Layla getting in on this mess? Isn't she supposed to marry Jamie? What's going on? I was, oh my goodness. And then Richter made some, like, offhanded joke, like, he didn't know that, like, they used to totally be dating and stuff and whatever in Latveria, where things are different and people are just looser, I guess. And he was like, oh, we could totally have a three-way or something. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And I was like, and I know that, like, dating Madrix, you must totally be into polyamorous relationships because you have to, right?
Yeah.
Right. We read that fanfiction.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that JB Madrix has, like Eiffel Tower himself, like...
Definitely. I wrote that story. You can find it on fanfiction.net.
Oh, you're a fanfiction.netter? Oh, you're
no,
even, like, on,
totally
like, LiveJournal? Or, like, some, like, respected, like, fandom, like, medium? You're on fanfiction.net? I feel sorry for you.
I totally just fibbed. Sorry, I don't write the fanfiction, I just assume it. Like,
the last thing that I read on fanfiction.net was 7th Heaven fanfic that was totally a Gary Stu about someone and putting himself into a relationship with Simon, and it was amazing. And I kept on reading it for like 18 chapters, and it was awesome.
Oh, 7th Heaven. Oh god. Oh god. I never watched that show. That's one of those shows that I was like, I think that's about religious people. I'm not gonna touch that.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, like, the father, the actor who plays the father, is totally not a religious dude, and he's like now in all these like really like non-religious roles. And I'm like, but you're the guy from 7th Heaven. Why are you playing a rapist? I don't understand. Like, he was on like Law and Order SVU or something. He was like a child molester. I'm like, what? So.
I mean, but also in those cases, you can't really have like a one episode guest role as like someone who's not a serial killer on those shows.
It's true.
Like,
yeah.
There's just not. They don't do those storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We talked about X Factor.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. You want to talk about Wonder Woman? What do you
I do. So I was originally really upset about the new origin story for Wonder Woman because I was very much a fan of the fact that Wonder Woman was kind of like this pristine, feminine essence. You know, she was untouched by masculine energy. She was like the essence of what is female. And to be fair, like, you know, that idea is kind of like problematic in terms of feminism and gender theory and whatnot. Like, what is the essential feminine? What, you know? But then, also to be fair, she's also clay, so
she's not even human.
Yeah, she's not. So, but now, so I was afraid of it. I was like, oh, it's gonna be like this like Hippolyta rape story, and it's because like it's gonna be like bizarre and strange, and I'm not gonna like it. And so.
Oh, you think she was like gonna get tricked into like bearing a child?
Well, I mean, like before. In the original story, in the original, you know, backstory of Wonder Woman, Hippolyta is like, it follows the Greek mythology where Hippolyta gets raped by Hercules, and like therefore declares war on man, and then like that's why then crazy, like that's why Hercules was like a big villain for Wonder Woman for a really long time. Which is confusing when because like Hercules in Marvel is like a great guy, or at least the, you know, heroic person. So now that Diana is a demigod, now that she is, you know, the daughter of Zeus, I was initially like kind of concerned that how that would change like her position in terms of like her being able to represent womanhood, being able to like kind of like being able to like embody this kind of larger metaphysical idea, you know, because like in during Odyssey, it kind of hinted at, it talked about how she is like, she represents humanity's kind of striving for justice or the throwing off of oppression or something like that. And then before that, she was like the avatar of love, and so she's kind of been this avatar-ish kind of like century baby.
Right, she's definitely been a century baby.
Yeah, but now that she's a demigod, I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. But I was reading a really good interview with the creators, Cliff Chang and the writer, about how the reason why they're doing it this way is because A, they felt like she needed kind of a jump start in her origin story. B, they're by the fact that they are maintaining like it wasn't just like, oh, you are a demigod. They maintained the fact that those stories existed, that she thought that she was made from clay, and so it keeps that old identity and that all those old stories valid. Then 3, this is actually kind of like dovetail between that interview and an interview that I read through Joss Whedon, who I think actually also wanted to make her a demigod kind of thing, where he was talking in an interview about his plans for what his Wonder Woman script was going to be, and the main kind of like challenge for Wonder Woman was discovering what it means to be human and like being this godly thing. And she like sees what the world can be, how perfect the world can be, and the fact that humanity is war, that humanity is like selfishness, is like famine, all this other stuff, and like it's at first she's like, oh, humanity is disgusting. How can you behave this way? And then it's her learning how to like love humanity, and that was really awesome. And I'm like, all those things together, that so in a long-winded story, that's why I'm okay with Wonder Woman being a demigod.
Yeah, I have to say, when I found out they were doing the Zeus thing, I was like, how does that even make sense? And then I started thinking about it. I mean, in terms of her, I love that they kept the clay mythology, like that is a mythology in her life. And I mean, so that's sort of meta in terms of looking back at the canon and incorporating that back in. And I love that because I feel like it makes her infinitely more relatable. Like, no human comes from ideals, but we're always striving for them. And so she has this past that she wants to live up to, and this origin that she wants, She wants to be the pure creation and not some bastard child, but that's what she is. And like, her sister is Strife, so like, that's a concept, right? And so, like, she can still, as a demigod, I mean, I guess Strife is a proper god.
Yeah.
But, like, as a demigod, you can still come to represent an ideal. And that is the heroic struggle, right? To live up to your principles and to be that ideal. And so I think that it sets her up really nicely as someone who is imperfect, who kind of has this fallen status as, like, this bastard child. And it sets up her conflict with her Amazon sisters, which I think is a great place to have her, because that's someone she wants to be close with, but then who she has a conflict with, and I think that is a great play. I think it makes her a much richer character without taking away what she represents, because she does still have that. She is striving to be what we have labeled her in the past, which is this ideal of womanhood. And so I really thought that was a good move in making her hate the new origin story.
Although I'm interested in understanding now what the Amazon origin story is, because what it was is clearly not what it is now, or maybe it is still now, but I mean, Hera is supposed to be, kind of like one of their main, like, protectors, creators. She was the one that, like, gathered all these goddesses and gave them form and shape from, like, the twisted souls that they, where they were existing in. So like are the Amazons immortal? Are they creations? Are they, like, so it's questions.
Well, and I mean, does Hera, I guess she would be pissed at both Wonder Woman, both Diana and her mother. So her mother's still continuing to be Queen of Being. I was going to say, because the Amazons threw Wonder Woman out, would she be chill with them? Because they're obviously on her side, even though her husband was a douchebag to her? Or, that's a really good question.
Yeah. I'm also not a fan of blonde Hippolyta. Just not a fan.
It was a little weird.
Yeah.
But in terms of Diana not being blonde, then, I mean, it kind of makes sense that, like, she's not just the mental creation of Hippolyta. She is the physical child of Zeus.
I also now want to know with this how Cassie is connected to Wonder Woman in any way, and also where the fuck is Donna Troy? No one really knows, but
no one knows. There are a lot of characters that I care about that need to be coming back pretty soon. And I do love Cassie's mysterious origin, but I just want to talk about Wonder Woman in JLA because she made her debut this month, and I went back and was like, did I miss some pages in the last issue, like introducing the status quo? Because it is ridiculous how different Wonder Woman is in the JLA versus how she is in her title. In her title, she is the main character, and she has conflicts with people that she has to resolve herself and deal with things, and she has a personality, basically. And in JLA, she has a handler who is a man who she wanders around the city and is like, ice cream, what's this? What if I rub it on my boob? What will that do? Oh, I'm not supposed to do that, Steve? That's naughty? But, oh, let's go kill some monsters. And, like, in part, she's kind of playing a River Tam type character, but Wonder Woman is not River Tam. Like, Wonder Woman was not mentally damaged and is stunted in some sort of fugue state. Like, that is not who she is. She's a capable woman. And, like, they have her being, like, super powerful, but it's that empowered thing that the comic book Empowered is talking about. I haven't ever read it, but I've read about it. And in that, like, women are empowered in comics because they are given powers, but they're not empowered in how they interact with the storyline.
As protagonists or as, subjective beings.
Exactly. And so the whole shtick, her whole storyline in JLA issue number 3 is that she does wacky things and Steve has to stop her because she doesn't know how to interact with people in the real world.
Oh, that Wonder Woman.
She's so simple. And then she saves everyone's ass because she's so powerful. And it's like, that doesn't make up for the fact that, like, you just said that she was, like, completely incapable of taking care of herself. That's what the first half of this comic was. And the second half is her punching shit.
As far as I'm concerned, Wonder Woman is basically Wonder Woman the book is like some indie comic that I'm reading right now. Because that's how it looks, that's how it feels, that's how it reads.
But like I feel like that's how you have to do it,
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing about the JLA is that it has not been. I have not heard that people have loved it.
No.
Because it is. I mean, it's like Super Friends, like, oh, dude, what's up? Now we're all super
but so like even more. I have been reading. I haven't been reading JLA, but what I've been told and what I've heard is that, like, I get they want to establish this origin story, or see the beginning, the Justice League, how exciting is this? But what that's translated to is like, look how stupid superheroes are, and they all know nothing, and their solution to every problem is hitting it. It's just like,
okay, yeah, I can see that because it does. I mean, it does seem like a very reduced. I've been using reductive and reduced all the time, so apology. But like, it just seems like it's very simple. Like when you make a kids TV show like Thundercats, the reboot now, or like what I've heard a lot of the superhero shows on like Cartoon Network are, they make the show, but because they know adults are watching it, they have the kid element where it's kind of just straightforward, but then they try to introduce like a big overarching concept. Like, if you ever watched Beast Machines, I love that show because it was all about kind of a higher intellectual debate, just talked about through robots turning into cars and tigers. And so that was cool. It was like, oh, now they transform for a little break, and then now we talk about like, how can we control people if we remove their souls, blah blah blah, and that sort of thing. And I feel like the JLA is doing the opposite of that. It's like, oh, this is an adult comic, but we want to make it fun, so let's reduce it to child level.
Speaking of the cartoons on Cartoon Network that are superhero, Young Justice, Young Justice had like a hiatus where it went away for a little while, and I never got the memo that it came back, so I missed a bunch of episodes. But what I've seen recently, I've been shocked how adult it's become. Because at the beginning it was like, woo, look at that crazy Martian chick, she has no nothing. And it's like, look at that crazy Wally West hitting on that girl again. It's like, But now it's like people are ripping like arms out of people's sockets, and like there are some like really violent like things that happen, and then there are also some really kind of like philosophical questions that are being asked. Like there's a whole like 2-episode like arc featuring Red Tornado where it's like features these really like important like questions, like metaphysical questions about like who one like what you are, what constitutes, you know, free will, etc., personhood, etc. So like it's great, but also I thought like why is this on Cartoon Network?
Right. Well, I mean, the thing.
Or it's like why is it not on
back
Adult Swim? It's not on like the adult part of Cartoon Network. It's like on the kid part of Cartoon Network. I'm like, whoa.
Well, and the thing that adult is a term that we use as a euphemism to refer to sex and maybe gratuitous violence. Sex and gratuitous violence. Those are the things that we have associated with the word adult. Mm-hmm. So when you're making a product for adults, you think, oh, well, what the adults want is an outlet for all the ideas of sex that they have and they want to communicate. And so we get like the new Catwoman and the new Red Hood, which are just about like, oh, this is we're gonna put an adult label on it, and then we're just gonna have it be about sex.
I'm not sure if you saw me like eye roll 4 different times, but
I did. But I mean, those comments are ridiculous.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, the other thing though, and this is where I kind of get into Teen Titans. Like JLA, you're being ridiculous. I think.
But that's what frustrates me so much is that like DC keeps on like reporting record sales for New 52, and that pisses me off because I don't think they deserve these record sales that they're getting.
Well,
I don't think so. I think a lot of the storytelling is frankly really like lazy.
Oh yeah, no, I would say. But the thing that my comic book store guy said this: when you launch all 52 from the beginning, they have staying power, and he says, and I've observed this in my buying behavior. If you get people to buy the first issue of something, they have a hard time stopping. Mm-hmm. They'll continue the story. The hardest thing to do is to get someone to buy the first issue of something. And that's why he really liked the New 52, because he said, in addition to relaunching JLA and all these, and the Catwoman and things that, you know, have kind of higher historical sales, you're going to also introduce things like Demon Knights, or I mean, I guess Voodoo ended up being a bad one, but Wonder Woman, you know, and you're going to up the sales of those books because people are going to be a little bit completist, or they're going to look like, or they're going to get into it because it's at number 1, and they're going to keep going with it because that's how people buy comics. If they buy the first one, they buy the rest. And so he looked on it as a really smart idea that, you know, was based on kind of like looking at people's buying behavior. So it doesn't surprise me that the New 52 is killing, simply because my comic book store guy predicted it. Brian, Secret Headquarters, you can see him on CNN because he did a unicorn party. He's all over Twitter.
Yeah, well, I think that is enough. We've talked a long time about a bunch of stuff. So
we did, but I just wanted to get real. Oh, maybe we'll save it because Teen Titans is coming out tomorrow. I did want to say, well, we can talk about it. Teen Titans is interesting because I look at Teen Titans and go, oh my god, it's another one of these horrible stories about women not being able to do anything even though they have all these powers.
It also looks like an Image comic from the 90s. I don't know who the artist is, but like, yeah.
And I feel like all the women are like scared of their powers, or like their powers are out of control. There's like all the men, including the gay one, which is interesting from like a queer perspective. It's showing that like I feel like it's kind of arrived at a place where gay dudes are also just dudes now, which is chill. And that's the thing. I haven't read The Wall premieres tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought he was called Bunker, and then now it's called The Wall, and so I'm confused. Yeah.
His name has changed so many times. Whenever I say The Wall, I'm like, I think it was something else at some point, and it might be different now. Well, we're not going to know until we open the comic tomorrow. And so, but it's interesting, and especially looking at the solicit for the 5th issue. It basically is like the boys fight each other because all the girls are sidelined. And I was like, from the perspective of like, first they came for these people and I didn't raise a hand until they came for me, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, that doesn't seem pretty cool, you guys, that like, again, it's like the women in the comic are Tim Drake's fantasy women, and that's the other thing. The women are drawn adult, and Tim Drake is drawn as a child.
Mm-hmm.
But from the perspective of like queer characters being treated just like other characters, like it's looking like the bunker or the wall is also going to be treated, like all the other characters. Mm-hmm. But we won't see until we see, which we will tomorrow. So awesome.
Okay. Well,
also, Misfits is back, and I've been loving it. Okay. I'm a fucking I'm a fucking rocket scientist. I love that. Sorry, you need to watch Misfits. Did you watch the first 2 seasons of Misfits?
I watched. Yes, I did. So yes.
Okay, so they get new powers,
Mm-hmm.
and someone. Well, okay, I just gave it away with that quote, but it's amazing, and you should watch it because it's amazing.
Well, thanks for tuning into this edition of Scarlet, Betch, and tune in next time for another great issue.
Bye.
Bye.